There's
One more subject I'd like to touch on, more to do with maybe with county council. The ambulances. There's had a couple of people that drive and stop me, want to talk to me about them. Right now we have, I think it's 6 ambulances and 2 half-ton trucks. And of course,
4 trucks.
4 trucks. And there's a situation brewing at county level where they may change that back to the 2 people in each ambulance and get rid of the half-ton trucks. And I wondered as a council how we felt about that. And I'm just going to give you my quick view on it. We have first response from our fire service in North Huron, which is duplicating the half-ton ambulances that you see. And I have a difficult time with understanding why we would pay money for the first response to go out from North Huron and then turn right around, and the half-ton from the ambulance service to get to an accident or a domestic dispute or a fire or whatever it is, for those 2 to say, just wait, hold on, I know you called for an ambulance, we've got one on the way. I don't understand why the ambulance does not send an ambulance. It sends people to the hospital or wherever they need to go, instead of sending a half-ton truck there first. And I understand that they're the medical equipment, but they wait on the ambulance. And I believe it's before county right now about passing it, whether they go back to full ambulance. And I understand all about the province saying you have to be there in 13 minutes. Again, if I was sitting on county, I would send it back to the province and say it can't be done, period. We live in too big of an area. So from my personal point of view as a councillor, I prefer to go back to ambulances. I'm just curious, Neil, can you fill us in whether the vote's gone through or it's going to go through, or how are councils represented for that?
There's supposed to be a report coming back to council from staff, and that the way the Ministry of Health rates it is the length of time from when the call is made till when there's somebody there to the scene. That having the one paramedic in the vehicle has cut those times most of the time, not completely all the time. That was a directive. The one thing that a lot of people don't realize is paramedics do not move a person until they believe they have them stabilized. And that I know from experience last fall at our place, lady stopped in. She was having health problems, and the ambulance was in our yard good 12 to 14 minutes before they left. A lot of times with the rapid response vehicles, is what the 4 single paramedic vehicles are called, that they are there, and it usually averages 6 to 10 minutes ahead of an ambulance arriving. If it's something that they don't need the ambulance, they can radio back and call off the ambulance. It's something that there is definitely pluses on both sides, that there's definitely a faster response with the extra vehicles. As to how much they can do, the trucks have pretty near as much equipment on them as the ambulance, but they don't carry a stretcher. So that there's definite trade-offs, and that if you're figuring on that putting 4 ambulances on instead of the 4 rapid response, to have 10 ambulances, that's one thing. The rapid response are not all 24 hours a day. That they are on schedules, and that it works out to the same number of hours approximately that they would have is as if they had 8 ambulances for the county, instead of the 6 with 4 rapid response. There's very deep feelings on county council both ways, depending on who you're talking to. Personally, I see points both ways. If it's getting, I'll say, a defibrillator to a person, I think the rapid response may be better. If it's ones to a major accident scene where there's trauma, probably ambulances would be of more good. It's a guess in which you have to respond to. I haven't made decisions myself on which I believe is best, because I see points both ways, and that I know that the rapid response has started a few hearts again that may not have been in time had they've been waiting the extra 4 or 5 minutes for an ambulance.
On behalf of the ambulance drivers I've been talking to from the time this started till now, and just last week, I wonder if I could put a motion forward that North Huron Council support the full ambulance arriving at the scene when an ambulance is called.
Will you say how many ambulances we should have in the county?
How many did we have before this started? 8? 8. 8. Minimum of 8.
Do we have a seconder for that as a motion?
I'll second it for discussion purpose.
Okay, further discussion. Ray?
I don't think I understand it enough to know what should be there, because these pickup trucks, do they keep circulating around, or where are they? Are they?
Well, they're the same as the ambulances, that if basically, if there's ambulances are on the job picking up people, all vehicles are actually moving, and that it's, I'll use the analogy of our North Huron Fire Service, that when the Blythe fire trucks go out on a call, there is a pumper and 4 people go to Belgrave, being the center of the area we cover, so that no matter where the call comes from, it's probably the fastest response, and conversely with Blythe and Wingham. That is what is looked at with the ambulance service. When you see a lot of them driving down the roads, they are shifting to try and cut the number of miles that anyone would have to drive to respond to a call any place within the county. Councillor Vaughn?
I think I would prefer to leave this issue with the councillors who are going to have a report that they can look at, and they can criticize and so on, but they have the facts, the basic facts there, and some statistics that would help make a decision. I don't feel that I'm at all in a position, as Ray said, of understanding enough to make any recommendation on this.
I wonder if they have done a study that can prove to me that having the 4 pickup trucks roving through the county or going to different places and rather than working out of one station. I wonder if they can prove that it reduces the response time, because if they move from Blythe to Wingham, and then there's a call in Lonsboro, have they say, well, it takes more time to get there, but has the overall response time been reduced for everyone? And is there a cost saving to it? And what is the cost of having the ambulance rove and the driver sitting in a vehicle all the time with his engine running, because they have to keep him running? That's a complicated question.
There's too many parts of that question. One thing that I would say is that there are high call volumes routinely in certain periods of the day, and that the 4 rapid response units are in those areas that the highest call volume is. And there's staggered timing on them to a certain amount. If we could detect where all the calls would be coming from tomorrow, we could have them close by. But through past history as to the areas you have the calls is how the routes and the things are put together. Basically, for every extra ambulance, you're looking at an extra $1 million a year, or close to it.
So just to maybe to clarify, the way I understood this, talking to our former fire chief and Keith, in North Huron, we have first response at our fire stations. So if there's an accident or you have a heart attack, that half-ton's gonna roll out of our fire station. So is the half-ton for the ambulance service. They're gonna race each other to get there. One's gonna call the other out when they get there. But neither one of them can transport you.
No.
So if they get there, that half-ton gets there, and you're in the middle of a heart attack, or you've cut your leg off in a farming accident, you will wait till the ambulance finally shows up. In the old days, we had 8 ambulances. We're down to 6 because we traded off 2 ambulances for 4 half-ton trucks. So when you call for an ambulance, there's a good chance a half-ton truck's going to show up. Then they're going to call the ambulance. And I don't get that. If I call for an ambulance, I want an ambulance. But the way it's set up now, if the half-ton truck is in your area, he goes first, he assesses it, or our fire people will assess it, doing the same job, they're both there, paying them both, and they will assess it and say, oh yeah, actually we do really need an ambulance, which is now even farther away because we got a half-ton truck here instead of an ambulance. So it's a long ways away. Now that 10, 15 minutes have gone by, let's call a real ambulance and bring them on over. I have a hard time with this, and I'm only talking on behalf of the people that have spoken to me, okay? And the other situation they have, the other problem they have is with only one person on the half-ton truck. Should there be a domestic dispute, or there should be an accident, or there should be something happening, there's nobody covering that person's back. So that person goes in to do their job, and the second person isn't there, and therefore they've got to try to watch their back, and well, something's going on. Quite often they're there ahead of the police. They're there ahead of the fire department. They're quite often the first people on scene. But we've changed it to the point where they are now alone in a half-ton truck that has to wait for the ambulance anyway. And that's where I'm coming from.
That, with all respect, and that I know that this has been brought to you, but I know for a fact our North Huron firefighters have responded ahead of the ambulance to medical calls, because the ones in the ambulance, there's protocols that they have to do. That basically, sometimes protocols take longer than firefighters getting the bunker gear on. And that the reality is very seldom does an ambulance move any quicker than 10 or 12 minutes from an accident scene because of the stabilization and the way that they are in communications to either local hospital or base hospital as to the directions as to where that ambulance is supposed to go. Many times, the ones in the rapid response vehicles are advanced care paramedics, which they are not all the time, but many of them are better trained. They have more ability to do things, I'll say, on scene, and that, so that it's, there isn't anything where you will win all the time. And I personally want to see the report that is being brought back.
Yeah, I think
Okay?
I'd like to make just one comment. We're kind of, we have three groups here. We have our first responders, we have our ambulance, and we have the ones in the one-ton truck, or half-ton truck. These fellows all work together, and ladies all work together. And when a call comes in, whoever can respond the quickest is usually the one that is dispatched to the scene. And we have to remember that our first responders are trained as well as these other fellows are, and maybe even better.
Yep.
And I know of cases especially in the Blythe area, where the firemen have already been there, they've already had the person stabilized, and if they think they work with the doctor out of Orange Sound, if the doctor says that fellow needs to be airlifted away, the helicopter's there, the helicopter there before the ambulance even arrived.
Yep.
And loaded the person up and we're ready to leave. And I think we have to look at all of this, and it's all a big group here working together. And I think we have well-qualified people, and I think we should let our well-qualified people make the decision on this.
Councilor Rod.
Plus, there are lots of areas where there is no first response, so in many areas, it's just a matter of either ambulance or.
Okay, is there any further questions or comments?
Please.
And could you read the motion?
I don't have a motion.
Oh, the motion was to have the ambulance service send a full ambulance out, as they did before, not the first response, to go back to full ambulance
Not
service.
the rapid response.
Yeah, I don't want rapid response. And with a minimum
Go
of 8.
back to 8 ambulances.
Go back to 8 ambulances. Minimum of 8 ambulances.
Deputy Reed Reach.
I second.
Okay, like we said, this is a recorded vote.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Councilor Bailey,
Yes.
Councilor Campbell,
No.
Councilor Vaughn,
No.
sorry, Councilor Hallahan. And Reed Vincent.
This time, no.